Vlog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at Yahowah.com.
Well, it's a new week. Welcome to continuation of everything we've experienced in the last few months. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Rich. How are you, fellas?
Good.
Doing
All
well.
right.
Morning.
Yeah, he's a dapper-looking fellow. What do you think the odds are that he's going to become Shah of Iran again?
Zero. And I don't think he wants the job either, right? I mean, they're kind of pushing and strong-arming. He's not like out publicly saying, hey, I can solve this situation, you know.
He is. No, he is.
Oh,
He's
okay.
campaigning. Oh, yeah, no, he's campaigning.
Oh, okay.
He's doing it actually in a very appropriate way. I mean, the whole idea of regime change in Iran is utter nonsense. But
Right.
he's doing it in a very appropriate way, which he's saying, I will come in as a caretaker to run the country while we can set up the mechanisms for a free and fair election. And we will then set up, write a constitution, come up with a mandate for government, and then I'll step down once that's achieved. So it's a fairly magnanimous position.
Sounds good, huh?
Yeah, and of course in the Islamic world, we have nothing but dictators. So what would be he's actually a pretty decent human being, as was his father. So having him be imposed as a dictator would be marvelous. He'd be among the very best. But the fact is that that's not going to happen. The reason that he hasn't inherited the throne from his father in typical Islamic fashion is that Jimmy Carter replaced his father and replaced his father with the Ayatollah. So America is responsible for kicking him out. He was the crown prince at the time that he was kicked out, and his father was kicked out of Iran. And their crime was that they actually wanted the revenues from oil and gas in Iran to benefit the people of Iran, as opposed to the oligarchs of the West. And of course, the oligarchy in the West could not stand that, so they imposed the Islamic government on Iran and made matters worse because, well, they're really stupid and they're grotesquely immoral. So that's the situation. The reason I posted this is I liked his comeback. He was interviewed when he was in Germany by a German journalist who asked him just an obnoxious question. He was asked if he was an Israeli agent, and his response was, no, but my grandfather gave refuge to Jews when you burned them in the ovens.
Now that is a burn.
That is a burn, baby. Yeah, that's.
Yes,
I'm going to go along with that. There is no comeback for that one.
No.
At least he was responsible. See, he went up 10 notches, in my opinion, just for that one comeback. And
Right.
Everything I've ever heard from him is decent. The problem, of course, is that when Israel and the United States justified the second war against Iran based upon regime change, there were so many things that were wrong about that. First of all, the CIA has been involved in 100 regime change operations since the end of the last World War. Every single one of them has been a disaster without fail. If you have 100 failures in a row, and every one of them is immoral, every one of them is egregious, and you failed 100 of 100 times doing something that is duplicitous, you ought not be allowed to continue.
Yeah.
I would think that you're doing something that's dishonest, which is interfering in other people's situations or other people's governments, that, one strike should be enough to end the organization, like the CIA. And if you go ahead and do that and you fail not once but twice and then 3 times, that ought to have been enough to get rid of the CIA. But now it's 100 times. So with them being 0 for 100, what do you think were the odds that they were going to succeed with regime change in Iran, particularly since the last time they perpetrated regime change in Iran, we got the Ayatollah. And the time before that, we got the Shah that they replaced with the Ayatollah.
Yeah, that absolutely none. There's no way that it was ever going to work. I mean, the problems that Europe is seeing with this Islamification of Europe is because of messing around in Syria and messing around in Libya, trying to train.
Well, since you mentioned those 2 countries, how did regime change work out in Syria, where the CIA has been working for regime change to replace Assad for the last 20 to 30 years? How'd that work out?
The leader of ISIS is there handshaking with Vladimir Putin. How do you think that happened? That went
how do you think that worked out? And in Libya, how did it work out with regime change with Muammar Gaddafi?
Oh, I think Hillary had a big scandal because of that.
Yeah. So well, the fact is that Libya went from the most prosperous country in Africa to a hell zone for the slave trade and for Islamic jihadists.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, an absolute, complete, and utter failure. How did regime change work for us in Afghanistan?
We have some clips on those coming up. Yeah, no, the Taliban's in control, and they have new equipment. So yeah.
Yes, they do, and of course they are treating girls and women very nicely, aren't they?
Oh yes, very nice. Yeah.
Oh yeah, very nicely. So that worked out beautifully for us. Regime change in Iraq. We gave Iraq to Iran. That worked out really nicely too, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
So with all of the experience, well, of course, we had regime change in Ukraine, where the CIA armed goons to go off and replace the popularly elected government that was pro-Russia, so we could use Ukrainians as cannon fodder to go kill some Ruskies. How did that turn out?
Looks like we're going to have some nuked skiers here before long.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. So with the CIA and America failing with every regime change operation and making the world progressively worse as a result, why would anybody support such a thing?
Yeah, someone somewhere has to be benefiting. It's just not the people that should be benefiting. I mean, someone is
well, the oligarchs in the United States and the UK that like to divide up countries for their own personal wealth. They think that they are prevailing, at least in the stock they own of the industrial
short-term
military complex. But even to them, they're losing on every play because they're ignorant and irrational. So they're losing on every play as well. Everybody loses. Then in Iran, you had another problem, and that is that the protests this time were different than the protests previously. The hijab protest, for example, was natural grassroots women in Iran protesting Islamic oppression. This time, the protests were not germane to the Iranians. They were absolutely conjured up the same way the protests played out in Ukraine. They were armed by the United States. They were incited by the United States. And the United States armed the Kurds to deliver weapons and to deliver anarchists into Tehran and other cities around Iran to protest the government and to do so violently. And they did.
A baby bay of pigs. Yeah, baby bay of pigs.
Yeah, it was a baby bay of pigs by arming Kurds to go play the stooge. And as a result, the Iranian government pushed back because they were burning down mosques, they were killing police, and there were probably 4,000 of these, most of them armed protesters. And so you're watching it, and it was a setup, and it was there was zero chance that an insurrection like that was going to prevail in a country like Iran. Then you had the United States lying about the nature of those protests and that they were going to go in and you just keep on protesting because we've got your back. We're going to
Right.
we'll be right there, man. We're going to send in the troops. And of course, when you lie about that, you destroy all credibility. No one will ever believe you again. And on top of that, the United States lied and said there were 40,000, 50,000, 55,000, depends on what day it is of the week, protesters killed. When the number was 4,000, and they were killed because they were armed and killing police.
And the United States has a history of lying about this because, I mean, arm the Kurds against Saddam Hussein, we'll protect you, we'll get you a homeland, all these, I mean, so the Muslims know this. I mean,
we armed the Kurds to take it to Assad and the Sunni jihadists and militias, saying that if they did that, then we would give them a state. And then when it came time to it, we said, no, absolutely, won't give you a state. And and then, in fact, we want to protect them from the Islamic State that is now empowered. And it was the United States that created the Islamic State to do the same kind of thing. We're the same country that created the Al-Qaeda to aid in the war that Jimmy Carter decided would be a good idea against the Russians in Afghanistan. We just do all manner of really stupid stuff. And this was another example of it. It was reprehensible. And so it was not a grassroots rebellion in Iran that had any chance of generating regime change, and anybody who had two functioning brain cells knew it. So it was just an outright lie for war. And one of the other two things that if you have ever studied regime change, that if it's going to be generic and it's going to be beneficial, then A, it can't be sponsored from the outside, as this one was. And B, it has to have at least 3.5 to 5% of the population. And in this case, they didn't even have half of 1%.
Yeah, that's 5 million people in Iran. So they needed 5 million people in Iran for at least, and at the biggest protest they were getting was several thousand. So there was zero chance that they were anywhere close to the magnitude they needed to prevail. The next is that if you're going to have a small number, they have to be more vicious and better armed than those they're trying to overpower, as in the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, and that was, and the Communist Revolution in Cuba is be another example of that. The Nazis with the brown shirts in Germany, those who are opposed to the status quo have to be more vicious and better armed if they're going to be a minority overcoming the vast majority. And that was the opposite of what we were witnessing in Iran. So it wasn't going to work from that point either. And then the last point is that a generic uprising of people for grievances against their government have to have something that unifies them. Yes.
They have to have a common cause that they are trying to impose. Again, like communism in Russia, like Nazism in Germany, they have to have somebody that they are rallying around and a belief system they are trying to move towards, and that does not exist in Iran.
Yeah, they have
not
nothing.
The alternative. They have no alternative, and therefore there was a 0% chance of success. So attacking Iran was foolhardy, and it wasn't just foolhardy, it was suicidal, because as we have seen, and as I said a year ago and 2 years ago, you go to war with Iran, and what you'll find is that you cannot win. You can't end that war. You cannot win that war. It's disastrous. And, this is a war now that Trump cannot end. He can't even declare victory and sail away, because he'd be sailing away from the petrodollar and doom the United States in the process.
What's worse than a quagmire? I mean, that was always the word that was thrown around. Oh, it's a quagmire. We want to avoid a quagmire in Afghanistan. We want to avoid I mean, we're worse than a quagmire here in Iran, because we can't leave. We can't.
You can't leave. We actually we haven't left yet from Iraq, and all we did was give Iraq to Iran made a bad situation worse. And we finally bailed out of Afghanistan. And of course, that was a fiasco. And we made a bad situation worse. And I did 10,000 radios telling people very early on both wars that all we're ever going to do is to make a bad situation worse here. If we pull out tomorrow, if we pull out 10 years from tomorrow, we're going to make a bad situation worse. And unfortunately, there were no other voices that supported what I was saying. But that's exactly where we are in Iran. The longer we stay, the worse it becomes. And unfortunately, while we could leave in a disaster in Afghanistan, and we can leave in a disaster in Iraq, having made a bad situation worse, we cannot leave the Iranian war, because to leave the Iranian war is to formally give up on the petrodollar. It's to say that there is no hope for salvaging the petrodollar. And with that, the faith in the U.S. economy with its debt is over.
Yeah.
So it is absolute destruction of the United States if the United States pulls out of this war, and it's absolute destruction of the United States if it continues this war. It's a lot to glean from a picture, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
This is frightening here. I mean, all I could tell you is that my advice has always been, don't join the U.S. military. The question here was, does the U.S. military have any defenses for the most common now means of fighting war, which are drone swarms? Can the United States defend against drone swarms? Now, this is based on the color of his uniform. I think this is an Army general. And as an Army general, that means that he would put troops he would put troops in harm's way without any way of defending them from the most common means now of attacking troops, which is drone swarms, because when he's asked the question, he says, no, we do not have that capability. And under that basis, America would be committing suicide of its soldiers to send them into Iran. So let's go ahead and play this. Listen to him. Listen to the question and his answer. We have to go back to the beginning, but yeah. You need sound again. There you go.
Homeland can be a swarm of inexpensive drones launched from inside our own borders, rather than a missile approaching from thousands of miles away. Does NORAD have the sensor coverage, authorities, and decision speed necessary to respond?
No.
And could you comment on that and on the gap today, the biggest gap you see?
Well, I mean, we don't have the sensors, and we're not, depending on where that swarm is going to attack, depends on whether we have any sensors at all, and so, and also whether we've got any effectors to get after that problem. So, we are ill-equipped right now to handle something like that, and obviously that is we've seen it used. We're seeing it used on a daily basis around the world, and we've got to figure out how to mitigate that threat, and but we're not there yet.
The next threat.
Now that was the question was specific to drone swarms launched inside the United States, and that, in other words, somebody fills up the majority of a shipping container, a truck, a trailer truck with drones in it, which is what the Ukrainians did when they attacked the strategic bomber fleet of the Russians. And of course, you just have faux things around the outside, and there's so many trucks that go across the Mexican and Canadian border that would be fairly easy to bring in. And what he's saying is, even inside the United States, we have no way of doing it, and we have no way of doing it outside of the United States. So we have zero way. And he said, not only have we no sensors to detect their approach, we have no way of resolving them, even if we
no effectors.
Yeah, no, and to deal with their approach. It means America is absolutely, unequivocally ill prepared to fight a war today.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And by the way, that's also true of Israel. Israel can't fight a war today. So the F-35s and F-15s will do you no good. The B-1, the B-2 do you absolutely no good. The THAADs and the Patriot missile systems are already outdated. They would do you no good. An aircraft carrier is not going to do you any good. A boomer submarine is not going to work at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
There
need
is
to
nothing.
switch. They need to switch from the big thing among the military is that the international sniper competitions, right? U.S. Rangers or the Marine Corps won the international sniper competition. They're going to switch that very soon to a skeet competition. It's going to become it is because that is what they're birdshot shotguns.
Yeah,
you got it.
I'm sorry, but by the time they're coming over the hills as drones, there is no shotgun that's going to shoot far enough, high enough, with a sufficient cluster of pellets to bring one of those suckers down.
Well, the other thing is that
work.
You talk about them being shipped into the United States and no. Ukrainians are building these things in their basements and taking them to the front. You know what I'm saying? Right. So
yeah,
I mean, it could very easily.
I was just mentioning that the question was posed to the United States, which means the United States is defenseless. If they wanted to have a drone attack on Washington, D.C. or New York City or any place like that, there would be no way. The U.S. has absolutely no way to stop it. The fact is the U.S. has no way to stop a ballistic missile attack either. But and I'm just projecting it forward to say that because this is now how wars are fought, the United States has no means to project a force, which means the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Air Force, in terms of being tools to project a force, cannot be used. Your military now has absolutely no value because you cannot invade and occupy any place if you cannot deal with detecting and intercepting drone swarms, because the drones are super inexpensive. I mean, they have drones now from all the way from you buy them off of Amazon and you put some ballistics on them, and they're in the hundreds of dollars to most a few $1,000s, up to very, very sophisticated, large, powerful, exceedingly fast, highly maneuverable, technically advanced drones that are into the millions of dollars. But everything else, the bases that America operates, the ships that we use, the airplanes that we fly, those are hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, and therefore America is just ill-equipped. America does not have the means to engage in a war anywhere in the world. And for America to spend $1.5 trillion on its military and its spy apparati, to get so far behind the curve that it can't fight a war.
Yeah.
What in the hell is the purpose?
I've seen the sensory network he's talking about in the United States is already there. It's called a cell phone, and they are completely integrated with all the alphabet agencies. In a time of emergency, FEMA and everybody else, the cell phone, the sensory network we have is for people, not military objects coming in.
Yeah, but even then, we're not. That's not going to provide sensors for a drone attack, nor can it stop a drone attack. We could not stop a drone attack in the United States, and we can't stop one to support our troops. So this idea that America is going to invade and occupy Krog Island or any place near Iran is a fool's folly.
And the military-industrial complex isn't even attempting. I mean, I have seen the interceptors that they're using in Ukraine. Okay, this is a drone that they use to attack other drones, right? And it flies at like 300 kilometers per hour. This drone was specifically developed, but in a competition between two kids. It's online. You can watch it. A kid in Australia with his father was competing against, going back and forth about who had the fastest drone. This design came from a fight between a kid in Australia and a kid in China. They would posting their speeds online and stuff, and that's what they're using to intercept drones. And
you know why the United States military doesn't have the means to engage in war today? Why is it? We don't have inexpensive drones. So all we have is the multi-million dollar drones. We do not have inexpensive drones. So we don't have drone swarms to use militarily, and we have no means of detecting or intercepting drone swarms. So we're 0 for 2, 0 for 3 actually on this single most vital aspect of fighting a war today. Why is it the United States is 0 for 3 on those things?
Because there were no drones in World War II?
Well, that's part of it.
They're still fighting.
I'm sure that's part of it, but because we're always ready to fight the last war. No, there's no money in it.
There's no markup
no money in it. A THAAD or Patriot systems are all in the multi-billions of dollars. Lots of money in that. The F-35s are $100 million. Lots of money in that. Aircraft carriers, $13 billion. Lots of money in that. So there's satellites. By the time you lit them up, they're billions of dollars. Lots and lots of money in those systems. Off-the-shelf drones are cheap. Any idiot can make them, and so the interceptors are cheap. They have to be cheap because if you had an expensive interceptor, you'd lose even if it succeeded. So everything has to be cheap, and America there's no money in that. So the military-industrial complex doesn't want to build them. And weapons that just take out troops, they're not interested in. They want the stuff that shock and awe, baby. Let's rock and roll. Sure. And so that doesn't. So their munitions are all standoff, shoot from a gazillion miles away because America can't handle POWs. So it can't have anything other than push a button and it's guided from thousands of miles away. Now so that's half the problem. You know what the other problem is?
I was going to guess raw materials because I don't know what the ratio would be to using the raw materials, these elements and stuff that are very difficult to get, and circuit boards and things like that. That a THAAD, each one uses one, and you have to have 500 drones to do the same thing.
No, the technology, the raw materials that you need to build drones and drone swarms are pretty cheap. The raw materials to build satellite detection, not satellite, but land-based detection systems, and then guide them, that's not so much. But certainly in terms of building drones, they're made out of ordinary materials. No, the issue is America can't make stuff. We don't have factories that can make stuff, and the only kind of things we even attempt these days are those kind of things that you can build a factory of total robotics, but the total robotics factories are for big things like automobiles, and when it comes to automating circuit board manufacturing or plastic parts that are punched out or these kinds of things and assembling them, that's not a robotic thing typically, and America's ill-equipped to make it. And we don't have the supply lines in America and the support in America, so we couldn't engage in it. We'd have to send it off to China to have China make it for us. That's not going to work real well. You want us to make your drone swarms? Say, sure, yeah, okay, yeah. Sign this contract here. We'll take care of that for you, Mr. President. No problem. No, we not only don't have an answer, the military is not developing an answer because the retired generals are all lobbyists paid lots of money to lobby for the things that are really expensive, like the Golden Dome that the president wants to have that will be in the trillions of dollars that won't work at all, will never actually be deployed. Well, there's trillions of dollars in that, and that's what they want. They have no interest in things like this. But this means that America is completely ill-equipped to fight a war today. It has this world's most expensive military and can't use it. Yeah, this is just so sad. Which she is saying is that it is despicable that women will say that wearing a hijab is a choice that Muslim women ought to have the opportunity to make. And to say that it is a form of discrimination and harassment is called Islamic phobia. And so what she says is, go do what I did. Go put one on. You go wear it for a day. You see how dehumanizing it is. You see how crippling it is. You see how isolating it is. And then you remind me as to how that is a reasonable form of expression as opposed to just outright discrimination and the dehumanizing of women, the isolating of women. And so it's a decent bit. It's very short. You can play it.
Hello, everyone. I am a woman from Middle East. Do you think this is normal? A woman talking behind this small piece of cloth? Do you really think this is part of our culture? Do you really think that if I say I hate this and I don't want to wear it, I'm insulting a culture, I'm causing Islamophobia? Just recently, Australian Parliament refused to talk about banning burqa in Europe, in the West, in America, in Canada. A lot of people normalizing Taliban. I am making this video simply to address an issue that the whole world believe that it's not their problem. Women in Afghanistan face guns and bullets, get beaten up, and get arrested for not covering their face. Yes, I'm not talking just covering their hair. They get arrested, killed, they are in prison right now, simply because they said they don't want to wear burqa, normalizing the Islamic Republic. We've seen this movie before in Iran. My women in Iran have been killed for showing their hair. And now women of Afghanistan, they have their morality police. But what breaks my heart, they are alone. They became like statistics. Where is AOC? Where is liberal and left? Where are those parliamentarians in the West? They told us, shh, that causes Islamophobia. We don't want to talk about banning burqa. I'm here to be the voice of women of Afghanistan because they have been our voice when Mahsa Amini got killed. It's beyond sad. When my women in Iran have faced guns and bullets, the first group that took to the streets were not women in the West, were women in Afghanistan. And now, again, we are together. And I'm asking, where is Women's March? Why there is no Women's March for women of Iran and Afghanistan? Simply for existence, women of Afghanistan took to the street. Why there is no big rally and Women's March to say, free women of Afghanistan? They are being kicked out from school. They're being kicked out from their job, from everywhere. A pregnant woman got arrested. A pregnant woman got killed in Afghanistan. Why? Because she was not allowed to go to hospital. She was not being in the hospital with a man. She was alone. What a crime. And now, everywhere in Europe, they're shaking the hand of Taliban. They're opening the embassy towards Taliban. The women of Afghanistan are the true ambassadors of peace, the true ambassadors of their nation. But
let's cut it. That's enough. She's okay. She's made her point. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, she is emphasizing way too much Taliban and Iran. This is a worldwide problem. The problem is Islam. Muhammad hated women. The Quran disrespects women. And so the idea of tenting women is a religious edict of Islam. It is the degradation of women, where women have no rights in Islam. The very fact is that because of the fact that women are discriminated against in the religion of Islam, in the Quran and in the Hadith by Allah and by Muhammad, Islam should never have been allowed to exist in any Western country where discrimination against women is illegal. So to have laws that say you cannot discriminate against women, and then you allow Islam, which is a religion based on the discrimination of women, into your culture, is absolutely illegal and wrong. and it should never have been allowed, and it should end.
Yeah, if given a choice, these women would not wear this. You know what I'm saying? The problem is
no, that's not true. That's not true.
No.
No, that's not true. It's not even close to being true. And that's what really pisses me off about Islam. I've have more scars from Islamic women than I do from Islamic men.
Mm.
They're vicious. They buy into this piece of shit. All you have to do is listen, put a mic in front of any Islamic woman anywhere in the world, and she will brag about her jihadi son and creating martyrs. No, they buy into it. They are abused. They're Stockholmed. They are the most vicious of all Muslims are actually the women. And I know this personally because having done 10,000 radio interviews and having written Prophet of Doom and now Goddamn Religion, I'm a lightning rod for them. And I will tell you, I get far more hate letters and vicious attacks by women than I do men. So absolutely, they would continue to wear it because that's the nature of this religion. It's the religion that needs to be outlawed because it perverts the entire culture into being demeaning to women. That's the problem. The problem is Islam. It cannot be allowed because of what it does within the culture. And even when an Islamic woman is here at St. Croix, there's a bunch of Muslims and the women all wear hijab.
Yeah.
Why? Why would they do that here? Because their husbands will beat them senseless if they don't.
That was kind of my thought where I was going with that this idea that she speaks specifically of Australia, not talking about banning the burqa. If they had banned the burqa, then it makes it illegal. Then at least the women aren't making the decision that, so that the men are going to beat the hell out of them and make them wear it. It's legally they can't. So they would sort of be protecting the women from that. I don't know, but I get what I agree completely with you when it comes to women being the most vicious when it comes to.
If you have a culture that says you cannot discriminate against women, then you cannot allow Islam.
Yeah. Oh,
simple. That's just simple. It's not complicated. If you have a culture that says it's inappropriate to discriminate against women, you have a culture that cannot allow Islam. Because it does, and it's based on it, and it's cannot be resolved. That problem cannot be removed from the religion. It is what it is.
Oh, it's post after post today about that. Yeah.
This woman is bragging that without Muslims, Europe would be centuries behind. Not the Islamic world, mind you, still trapped in the world of Muhammad in the 7th century. Oh, no, it would be Europe that would be a century behind. They'd have no technology, even though there's not a Muslim that's ever invented anything that's technologically advanced. They'd have no industry, even though there's no industry in the Islamic world. They'd have no computers, even though computers have never been made in the Islamic world. And they would have no AI, and though AI doesn't exist in the Islamic world unless it's funded and built by Westerners. The religion is so toxic. It inverts reality. I mean, how inverted do you have to be to believe that God spends all of his time in hell torturing people? Yeah. How inverted do you have to be to say that killing people is rewarded by multiple virgins in paradise? How, I mean, how stupid do you have to be to believe the dumbest, most immoral book ever written? And yet this woman is a classic case. She swallowed the poison, and she is a vicious, nauseating Muslim. And as such, you can't fix this religion. You have to quarantine it. It needs to go back to the countries where it exists. And unfortunately, the first Muslims were so vicious, they compelled Islam. And it wasn't just this old notion of the sword, convert or die. Because when the conquests occurred in the first 100 years of Islam, the Quran didn't exist. There was no written Quran. And so they weren't trying to convert anybody. Those conquests through what is now 55 countries, and it was even further, and they were pushed out of some. But those conquests were not for religious purposes. They were not trying to get anyone to convert. There was nothing to convert to. It was, we're here. We're here to steal what's yours. We're going to rape the women. We're going to sell the children into slavery, and we're going to murder the men. That's what we're here to do. There was no convert or die. There was nothing to convert to.
There was. Yeah.
Yes.
Be a slave or
steal your
be
country.
dead.
We're going to steal your women. We're going to steal your children. We're going to steal all your possessions. That was the first 100 years of Islam.
Yeah. I just, her whole point that there wouldn't be any of these things without Islam, computers and tech. What did the British do for the Wahhabis to be able to overthrow the Turks out of Saudi Arabia? They gave him technology. They gave him guns, right? Otherwise, they were whacking each other apart.
And for the most part, they still waged their war against the Ottoman Turks on camels and swinging scimitars. They weren't technically advanced enough to use guns. We look at Qatar, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, and particularly Saudi Arabia today, collectively having one of the largest armed forces in the world in terms of weapons. They in terms of defense spending, Saudi Arabia is in the top 10 of the world. And yet there isn't a single Muslim in Saudi Arabia that can wield any one of those weapons. Not one in Kuwait, not one in Qatar. They can't find people in the Islamic culture to wield those weapons because they're not smart enough to use them. And so not only is there no technology being invented or manufactured in the Islamic world, for the most part, the Muslims can't even be trained to use it.
Yeah.
This is I wish people had an appreciation of how crippling a religion Islam is. Deadly, deceitful, debilitating. And I prove it, of course, 5 volumes of goddamn religion. Listen to it, read it. It's irrefutable because it's based entirely on the Islamic scriptures.
I don't know of anyone in the world that is trying to break into Muslim countries. There's no population in the world that are trying to. That's where I want to go for.
Lots of Muslims trying to leave, and yet they take their Islam with them. I mean, I don't blame them for wanting to leave Syria or Algeria or Libya or Afghanistan or Iraq or Egypt or any of these countries. I don't blame them for wanting to leave, except leave your goddamn religion that made those hellholes so terrible with you, and embrace the culture of where you're going, because that's why you're going there.
Yeah,
but that's not what they're doing. They're dragging the poison with them.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no decontamination shower that washes off Islam instantly. It can't be done. Goddamn religion's pretty good, but you got to be able to read. I guess we'll read it to you.
Not enough people read it to make a difference. Yeah, here we go again. This is a picture of a man. I think he's in his mid-30s, early 30s. He is marrying a 10-year-old girl. There's just literally no way to justify this kind of thing. And it's pervasive in the Islamic world. They can't regulate against pedophilia. And the reason they can't do that is because Muhammad was a pedophile. And the religion is based entirely on Muhammad. Muhammad was born in the year of the elephant, according to the Quran. And that means he was 66-year-old when he first sexually assaulted the 6-year-old Aisha, that was the daughter of his only friend. 6 and 66. So this guy's a veritable saint at 32 with a 10-year-old by comparison. Just think of how creepy that would be with the 66-year-old absolute demon-possessed terrorist, and you're thrown in bed with him at 6 years old. How horrible that would be. And he continued to have more and more child sex slaves, and every Jewish man he killed, he stole his wife to rape.
Well, they call this a marriage, but if you notice, it says by paying her father $580, you buy dogs. You buy cars. By paying for something, it makes it property. That's not a marriage.
Of course.
It,
Of course. It's property. Well, that's what a Muslim woman is. She's property. Truth is, a Muslim man is also property, owned by Allah.
Allah.
Allah is very clear. You're a slave to Allah. You have no right to your own life.
Yep. Just
So
waiting
an
to die
Islamic
for Allah.
man is property, and an Islamic woman is the property of that property. That's why when they say free Palestine, you just say, what kind of a moron are you? First, there's no Palestine, and second of all, there's never been any freedom in Islam and never will be. What a creep. Can't fix Islam, folks.
And this is not a one-off. This is just not, hey, this every day, hundreds of these are taking place.
Yes. So Fox, the Trump tush talkers are saying that, Trump is saying again, there's a back channel with the Revolutionary Guard officials and saying there's no hurry. There is no back channel. None. The Revolutionary Guards are part of a government in Iran. That government includes the heads of each of the military apparati and the heads of parliament and the supreme leader. And it's a fairly large body that makes decisions. And once that body makes a decision, they all honor that decision. There was news released a couple of days ago that talked about the fact that when Trump was claiming that he was negotiating with Iran, wanted to see if there's anything more that the Revolutionary Guard wanted beyond what Arachi was discussing, and they came back and said, "No, Arachi worked for us. We're all in this together." He represents exactly what we're all saying. There is no disunity between us. And so the Revolutionary Guards are not the ones who are negotiating, and they would never negotiate peace. They're actually under the dead hand of the Ayatollah, who said, if I'm killed, this is my signature. You don't stop fighting ever. So they're not in a position they can negotiate. And no Muslim fighter is ever going to negotiate. That is against the Quran. So you do have Arachi who could negotiate with you, but he's already said, I'm never going to negotiate with you again.
He laughs on camera about it.
Yeah, he does. He says, no, we are not negotiating. And so when he claims he's negotiating with us, he's lying. So this is another lie. But of course, the Trump tush talkers just continue to parrot one lie after another, and they never say, oh, well, that last time was a lie, and the time before that, 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 time before that, echo. And we never can admit that we were lied to. We're not that smart.
And what is this Trump, whole diversion of if Oman gets in the way, we'll bomb the shit? What does Oman have to do with?
Well, that's the second part of it. The first part is an absolute lie. There is no back channel negotiations with the Revolutionary Guards. None. It's just another outright lie by a man who lies about everything. And then he is back to being the asshole that he normally is. If Oman gets in the way, we'll bomb the shit out of him. Well, at least when he talks about bombing the shit out of somebody, he's talking about a subject that he knows a lot about. He is a foremost expert on shit.
Yes, he is.
Yes. And by the way, the United States is not going to bomb Oman. Not going to happen. Definitely not going to happen. The United States. And so even to report this, you can't be that big a Trumpite psychopath that you would actually present this as credible. What do you think would happen after losing a war with Iran and having no way out and destroying America in the process, and having a man lie so often that he annuls his own memorandum of understanding, which was the surrender document, within 24 hours of making it? That same country can now go, after it's run out of munitions and lost the war, is now going to start bombing the other side. That you've abandoned Oman and Bahrain and United Arab Emirates and and Qatar and Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. You abandoned your bases were destroyed. And now what you're going to do in response is you're going to bomb the other side. You're going to start bombing Oman. Then what are you going to do? Bomb Saudi Arabia? What are you going to do? Bomb United Arab Emirates?
The Houthis ran you off. So
yeah, the Houthis ran you off. But you can't go and bomb the other side that's getting destroyed because of your war on Iran.
Right.
I mean, it's just the dumbest thing you could possibly say. And to threaten one country after another with, I'm going to bomb the shit out of them, someone's got to wake up and say, you know, this guy really is Satan. That guy that proved that he was Satan, he's really right. He really is Satan. We ought to stop being MAGA. This is stupid. He's Satan.
All right. It's a bit like the Stalinists whenever during the World War II, they would hand them the one guy a gun, another guy the magazine, and when this guy dies, you pick up the gun, and now you have shots. But they couldn't retreat because their own guys were having machine guns pointed at their back. You know, it was
there were not enough bullets to go after the Germans, so they their thought was, we'll just send Russians without bullets against the Germans, and the Germans will finally wear themselves out killing Russians. And after they've shot millions of Russians running at them, they'll run out of bullets, and at that point we can bludgeon them with knives and clubs and whatever else we may have available to us. Since we don't have any bullets to shoot at them, we'll just take all of their bullets by sending people out. Well, that was stupid. I'm not sure there's a correlation here. No,
I meant the guys with machine guns. The Russians with machine guns were so that the Russians couldn't retreat. They said, you either fight against.
No, I know, but there's no correlation with that. Oh. This is no correlation whatsoever. This is Trump saying that the people that have been attacked because we've started a war with Iran, that have been attacked because we abandoned them and we started a war with Iran. Now we're going to start bombing them.
Yeah, if you guys leave us, we're going to bomb
the only people that we had a prior relationship with. So I guess we're going to take Iran out of the responsibility of having to bomb them anymore. America will just start bombing them.
Right. At least we can win that one, right?
No, can't win that one either. No, because that's the demise of the petrodollar all over again. No, you can't win that one. But that would be, I guess akin to, if you want to make a World War II analogy, it would be like saying that after America bailed England out of another what would have been imminent war loss, and they were receiving all manner of attacks from Russia, not from Russia, from Germany, that we would just go ahead and help the Germans out and start bombing London. I mean, why tax the poor Germans having to fly the Luftwaffe over? We'll just bomb London for you.
We're already here. Yeah.
And then, we're already here. Let's go ahead and bomb London. No problem. We're already here. Yeah, we're already here. Let's just, I think London would be an easier target for us anyway. We'll bomb the shit out of London. That's
call it a win.
Yeah, that's the equivalent. Yeah, this is fairly well done. This is a 16-year-old jihadist. The world is all upset because Israel killed him. And because he is a 16-year-old child. But, it's the nature of Islam. You're a young Muslim. You are a young viper. The religion does not allow any Muslim boy to grow up and not be a jihadist. According to the Quran, all Muslims have either died killing for Allah or they will die killing for Allah. That's the 8th surah of the Quran. I'm sorry. It's just, I wish the religion wasn't that way, but it is that way. So, but the problem isn't Palestinian, because there are no Palestinians. The problem is not terrorist, because terrorist is a tactic. It's not it's not an edict that causes anybody to do anything. There is no religion of the terrorist. So terrorist is a terrible term to use because it describes a tactic, not the motivation. Palestinians doesn't even exist. And of course, the one thing that actually mattered, Vivid left out.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Muslim.
Yeah.
Vivid is the dumbest piece of shit, I tell you, on the planet. I think he may be dumber than the jihadist here. And because he can't tell the truth, he's useless to Israel. Counterproductive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is in accord with the Quran, with the Hadith, with Allah and Muhammad. That's why he is doing these things. And until you expose and condemn the motivation for these things, you're going to continue to have those things. And it does not matter how many bullets and bombs you drop. You killed a 16-year-old that was acting in an aggressive way. Well, guess what? There'll be another one and another one and another one and another one. They'll just keep on going. You can't deal with them unless you understand the motivation of the religion and deal with the religion. And of course, Vivid is a nincompoop when it comes to that.
Yeah, his age is not an issue here. I mean, I don't care how old you are. You point an RPG at a tank. You know, I mean, you have to condemn the religion that set this up and allowed us,
children to do this.
That makes this okay. Yes, that
makes this okay. So the Putin is saying that the way that the West used the petrodollar reserve currency system was to tax the rest of the world. The U.S. created a system whereby it could spend what it did not make to buy things it wanted without actually having to pay for them. And it did so through the petrodollar system. And the way that Putin doesn't explain this, but the way that the petrodollar system taxed the world was that it forced everybody in the world to have a large stash of dollars, to have to buy dollars and hold dollars to participate in international trade, particularly the most important element of international trade, which was energy. And so you couldn't, and then once they had the petrodollar on energy, they forced it through SWIFT and other mechanisms to everything else, so that almost all international trade was done in dollars. And to do that, you have to buy dollars. You have to hold dollars to be able to do that, or you can't engage in trade, which would be economic suicide. The way that the U.S. taxed the world by doing that is that because people had to buy dollars, the U.S. could print dollars to create an artificial surplus of dollars to increase the money supply. We call that quantitative easing now. It's hocus pocus, but you could increase the money supply so that the dollars that people bought and owned were worth less. Every year they'd be worth 5% or more less than they were when they bought them. So you are taxing the rest of the world to pay for an indulgent lifestyle that you are not actually producing goods and services to justify. And that's how the U.S. developed its $40 trillion in debt. That's how the U.S. went from making things to just simply buying things with phony money. And it's how they tax the world to pay for the indulgence of Americans being able to buy things without making anything. Mm-hmm. And it has come to roost now because America stole Russia's sovereign assets where they had dollars to commence in trade, and then kicked Russia off of the SWIFT system. And then we did the same thing to Iran. And then we imposed tariffs and we weaponized the dollar. And by weaponizing the dollar, we made it an unsafe thing for trade, and we made it certain that there would be replacements. And Russia with China is leading that march to the replacement with BRICS. But that's what he is saying here, is that is the system that America imposed, and it has now disintegrated.
And $10 trillion is what experts estimate. That seems low. That $10 trillion seems low, because the idea isn't that they're buying cash. They're buying bonds, right? They're buying U.S. treasuries, right? And
Not
these
only,
treasuries.
not only, no, you can hold dollars in lots of ways. You can hold dollars through stocks, through bonds, through just cash reserves. So there's lots of ways to hold and buy dollars. What they're saying is that internationally, among the just shy of 200 countries around the world, that there is a float of $10 trillion that's held abroad for strictly for the purpose of engaging in international trade, and that $10 trillion that is held abroad, that is not used and circulating in the United States to facilitate international trade, is being taxed at 5% a year, which is the cost of inflation and the inflation of the monetary supply. But that's what they're saying. That's that $10 trillion. It's $10 trillion in dollars outside of the United States being used for the reserve currency status based on the petrodollar, and that system has been destroyed. Now, one of the most interesting things about the destruction of that system is what happened here just in the last month. Japan still stupidly has effectively a zero interest rate on and has debt that's, rather than the United States at 120 to 140% of GDP, Japan's debt to GDP is in the range of 300%, really high, and because Japan can't raise interest rates on its debt at that level without making the debt twice as service of the debt, the largest annual budgetary item. So they're trapped. They can't raise the price of the debt. So you can borrow on yen and then take that yen and buy bonds with it, for example, in the US, where you're making 2% or 3% on your T-bill and paying Japan less than 1%. So you're making a spread on somebody else's money. And that because of that system having obviously failed, Japan was about ready to go bankrupt. And so Japan now is the largest holder of U.S. debt, since Saudi Arabia has been a constant seller and China has been a constant seller. Now Japan is the largest holder of U.S. debt. And the only thing that Japan could do at that point was to sell all of its U.S. debt to keep its own currency alive. But if Japan did that, they would bankrupt the United States. They would create an immediate default of the United States. So the United States had to keep Japan from defaulting. So the United States, that is already $40 trillion in debt, took, I think it was 125 billion or 200, I think maybe it's 250 billion. Took 250 billion, which when you're talking about national debt, that's a big number. I mean, China owns $350 billion of American bonds now, and Japan's probably 400 billion in U.S. bonds. But it took 250 billion and bought yen. So America, that's bankrupt, took $250 billion to buy yen to try to support the yen. And of course, it didn't work. The yen continued to fall. And then when it was asked, why would you do this? Why would you prop up another country like this and not even get congressional approval? Do it out of the White House. Who gave you control over that money? And the answer was, we didn't spend U.S. dollars. The United States was given the right to hold 250 billion euros. We sent them the euros. Well, who gave you the authorization to do that? Well, nobody. We sent them euros.
Check out my bank account in Qatar.
But yeah, so here's the deal. You've got the largest holder of U.S. debt is going bankrupt. And so the country that has the largest debt, $40 trillion, goes and buys the country that is defaulting because of their own debt is even higher as a percentage of GDP. And the U.S. goes and buys their debt. Talk about a shell game.
Shell game.
Scam.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't even do that with cake and chairs. I mean,
No.
that is it. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how the bankrupt country, how the bankrupt country keeps the other bankrupt country out so that they don't bankrupt them. I mean,
the reason it wasn't on a newspaper, and I don't think there's a journalist out there indoctrinated by one of the liberal schools that understands economics, so they wouldn't know how to write on the story. But that, talk about a major event, trying to create the illusion of solvency for the United States and for Japan.
Well, and that's exactly it. It's just an illusion because there's no reason for someone to go buy this yen because it's a bad investment. Hello, other than the fact that it keeps the
But if they don't buy the yen, the Japanese are going to sell their bonds. They'll be a net seller of bonds, and if they sell their bonds as the largest holder now of bonds, on top of China backing out of bonds and Saudi Arabia backing out of bonds, then there is no foreign country that owns any significant amount of bonds. And now the whole illusion is we're funding the U.S. debt through quantitative easing, which is nothing more than the creation of money out of nothing.
Well, on a massive scale too, because $300 billion. I mean, and this is just the one that you make
250. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's
250, and it didn't work.
And it didn't
the
work.
yen continued to fall.
Well, and I think there's there's a clip later. Britain is number 2, right? And so they're just on the precipice of having serious issues of like Japan is having. Britain is like number 2 investing in. Yeah,
they're terrible. The world's a con job. Politics is a con job. All right, so here you are. Cap Mallon says, on this day, August 16th, 1948, a Greek Catholic bishop recorded the real reason so many Arabs left their home during the war. Anyway, when you read what he wrote, you'll see that what the Muslims, and it wasn't Arabs, there's no reason to be racist here. We need to stop being racist. Let's deal with the fact this is Islam. The reason that the Islamic countries told the Muslims living in Israel to leave is highlighted in this article, which is that will take them less than a week, and the Muslim armies will exterminate all the Jews. So in less than a week, the Muslim armies will exterminate all the Jews, and then you can come back and live in whether it be the West Bank or Gaza or the British mandated territory that they stole from the Ottomans. But that was the deal. So what it affirms is that Nakba is completely a farce. That the Muslims who have left Israel back in 1948 did so at the insistence of other Muslim nations so that the Muslims could kill Jews more efficiently. And so they are not refugees under that circumstance. And the Muslims were brutal. They wanted to exterminate Jews as they returned from the Holocaust. And they lost. But going forward, if you can't use the M and the I word, and you're focused on the A word, you are never going to make a difference. You are going to be one of the others that just sounds like you're a counter racist, and you can't win. It's like Israelis talking about Palestinians and Israelis talking about Hamas. There is no way to win. You're guaranteed to lose when your focus is on a symptom or on a race as opposed to the religion.
That's the real Islamophobia, isn't it? Not being able to point out that it's Muslim, it's Islam.
Well, you notice that I don't suffer from Islamophobia.
No. No problem there.
No problem there. Okay, so this is Richard. I scolded Richard the other day. Richard is one of the people that I did follow very early on in X. By the way, X was a really strange thing for me today. my X accounts, all three of the places that I had bookmarked for them, came back and it was just a complete white screen, nothing. Asked me to sign in, which I attempted to do, and it says the account no longer exists.
Huh.
So then I went to Yahowah.com and I clicked on the X link there, and it brought me to the account. But the account was white, not black. You know, you're looking at it, it's the same old black that it always is in X. And that seems appropriate for X. And it was white, and I, have no idea what happened with X today, but it's only a matter of time between we'll be banned from X, because you can't tell the truth on X or Facebook and survive it. Anyway, I scolded Richard because he came out with a couple of really revolting anti-Semitic posts, and he was just better than that back in the day. And it's, what happened to you? Anyway, this post today is mostly accurate, and that is that he says that when the Ukrainian war is finally over, and the country is either dead or maimed, Vladimir Zelensky who has sold out his country, is going to slink into South Florida and live a luxurious life. And I'm saying, no, that's not going to happen. Ukrainians are vicious. They will kill him. He will be assassinated. That man has weeks, months, maybe a year or two to live. He's going to be dead. He's going to wish he had stayed a clown.
Yes.
Money will not buy him happiness.
He could take himself out with OD on the cocaine.
He could. That would be merciful. The number one goal is and always will be that Iran cannot have in any way, shape, or form a nuclear weapon. That was not the number one goal. It was regime change. We heard you say it was regime change. And, oh, by the way, Iran didn't have a nuclear weapon. So what was the point of your war? Iran's much more likely now to have a nuclear weapon than it was before you attacked. And it didn't have a nuclear weapon, even though it could have had a nuclear weapon at any day for the past 20 years and chose not to have a nuclear weapon. And you claim that you eradicated their entire program the year earlier. So what is the real reason you went to war with Iran? Because it wasn't to keep them from having a nuclear weapon, because they didn't have a nuclear weapon. And oh, by the way, there's nothing that would preclude them from having one if they wanted one. And,
except the Shah that he killed.
Yeah, the United States has already demonstrated that having a nuclear weapon is advantageous, even for countries that have been bullied into one choice or another. For example, North Korea. While it was developing nuclear weapons, the U.S. was vicious against North Korea when they had a nuclear weapon. What did Trump write today? I'm not going to play with South Korea anymore because they wouldn't play with my Iran war, and I have a great personal relationship with bad hair boy. We're out of respect for bad hair fat boy. We're not going to play with the North Korea or the South Koreans anymore. So look what happened with Libya. The U.S. convinced Libya to give up its nuclear ambitions. It did. And we bombed the living shit out of them. So no one's ever going to play that game again. Ever.
Yeah.
So, by attacking Iran because they hadn't developed a nuclear weapon over the last 20 years, what you did is prove that if you want to survive American aggression, you have to have a nuclear weapon. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Oh, this is quite the thing. Don't touch me. Do not touch me. When a prostitute won't allow you to touch her. No, look at that. Pull her hand away. No. Turn away, pull her hand away. No, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be seen with you. I do not want to be touched by you. Look at this. Look at this. No. Oh, I had to slap her hand. No. When a prostitute won't hold your hand. And that's really what she was. She came over to be a prostitute. She was a call girl. When she won't hold your hand, man, you are really a creep at that point.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Wow.
She probably doesn't like diaper gal.
I don't know, but I can tell you that as they say, Natalie would never have treated him like this.
Right.
Ava Braun, man. Yeah, diaper bag girl. Look at this. Oh my.
Kind of hard to cover that up.
Yeah.
Look at that. I mean, no. Oh, you can't even bribe a prostitute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Complete lack of gratitude. Isn't that what what Muhammad said? Complete lack of gratitude for their husbands. So
oh yeah. In Islam, of course, you'd be flogged for that. And of course, do I feel sorry for her? No.
No, absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
She's an Epstein tramp. No. Mm-mm. There's lots of women who were used and abused by Epstein, and I feel sorry for them. But she was definitely part of that, recruited by Epstein. But she managed to play herself into the position of being FLOTUS as a whore. So yeah, I think you made your bed.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
With a poopy pants man. Actually, she doesn't sleep in the bed with poopy pants man. Natalie does, and the butler. Yeah, this is an interesting cover. Time was always a liberal publication, and Clinton was a liberal. And so Clinton, to distract everybody's attention from Monica Lewinsky, decided to go to war with the Serbs, and had no justification, but still bombed them, bringing the Serbs to heel. And then it says opening the door to peace. This is like Donald Trump. I'm going to bomb you until you want to do a deal with us. It's like the old saying, the beatings will continue until morale improves. How in the world can, even back then, liberal journalists siding with liberal politicians be this out of their mind?
Yeah. Well, the article Slavic Patriot goes on to talk about, the natural progression of always how you dehumanize the enemy, you make it okay, and those sorts of things.
Yes.
The propaganda that is used to whoever it is, and it's just a matter of time between that swung on your next target.
And pulling all the historical context away. The Croats were typically Roman Catholics. They sided with the Nazis. They killed stunning numbers of Serbs as well as Jews, and so the Serbs had every reason to be disgusted by what had happened. And then, of course, that's where the Muslim SS brigade was in that same area, and they were also ruthless, and so they had every reason to want to purge their community of those who had treated them so inhumanely. And we had no business stopping them based upon the history they had endured with them in recent history.
Yeah, we were supporting the Muslims in that war, weren't we?
We were supporting the Muslims. Yeah.
Yeah, there's big Serbian, Bosnian population in St. Louis during that time. I mean, just lots and lots. They have their own neighborhood. I mean,
Yep, treated poorly by Catholics, treated poorly by Muslims, treated poorly by the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so here's a couple of guys. They're talking about when Muslims had the upper hand in India, they slaughtered 80 million Hindus. Same thing will happen the moment the Muslims have the upper hand. Unfortunately, they're guys with "We Love Jesus" on their shirts, so they don't really have much credibility. In fact, I think to effectively write a book like "Goddamn Religion," the 5 volumes of it, condemning Islam, you really have to also condemn Christianity. You can't wield one religion against the other religion when both religions are wrong, and both religions have a long history of dehumanizing and perpetrating genocide against Jews. But the truth is that the Islamic conquests following Muhammad's death are unquestionably the most ruthless, most savage in human history. There's nothing that compares to it. Somewhere between 200 and 250 million people killed, enslaved, raped in the first 100 years of Islam. And it continued. They continued to enslave, rape, plunder, commit acts of mass murder for 1,000 years. And now it's just localized apartheid and genocide within those Islamic countries. It's the worst curse in the history of humanity.
Mm.
Glenn Dyson is a person whose name I mention a fair amount, and he will have good topics and bad topics, good guests and bad guests. Here is a post that he's making on his own, and he is absolutely right in this regard that the Ukrainians have become savages. They are pulling people off the street, mugging them, and throwing them into vans and throwing them onto the front lines to die. And here's a woman they're throwing now also, and it's for the West to continue to pretend that Ukraine is fighting for democracy and that the Russians are the aggressors in this war is one of the most naive, irrational, ignorant, and immoral allegiances ever. Ukraine is horrible. Grossly immoral, grossly intolerant, vicious, and has been for centuries and centuries and centuries. America could not have picked a less moral partner to go off and kill Russians. Well, I mean, the idea of picking a partner to be cannon fodder is disgusting, but it's what America does.
Mm-hmm.
But in the case of Ukraine, it picked a really disgusting partner.
Yeah, this idea that we brought democracy to Ukraine, freely elections, with the May Day. Honestly, when I first saw this, I thought it was a nice video. I'm not gonna lie. Armed thugs, masks, grabbing a guy, throwing him into an unmarked vehicle. Mm-hmm.
Looks just like this.
So that's the democracy that we
America
gave to the
has
Ukraine.
become Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And in Ukraine, it's neo-Nazis. So who do you think ICE are?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's really no differentiating between the two. Except rather than sending the people to a concentration camp, which is what ICE is doing, they're sending them to the front line where they have about a 3-week long.
Oh, yeah, I bet this dude would love to be deported. Please deport me, right? I mean,
God. Yeah. Love to be deported, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By comparison. Yeah, this is chilling. No one can fix Islam. He's asked questions, how many people did you kill? How many people did you rape? What did you do when people were pleading for their lives? He said, yeah, so what? Yeah, they begged me not to kill them. Why'd you kill them? I don't know. Well, how many people did you rape? Well, I probably killed 900 people myself. Raped 50 little girls, 200 women. What do you do with a person like this? I mean, you don't incarcerate them. There's no reason to allow them to live, right? You don't try to rehabilitate them. What do you do with a person like this?
Yeah, public hanging. I mean, so make an example, public hangings.
Yeah.
I can't imagine 900 people, you know, I mean, this.
Okay. Well, 50 little girls, to rape 50 little girls? No, in fact, even hanging isn't sufficient. That's why Yahowah says, I'm going to have sevenfold retribution. You know, he is going to endure 7 times 50 and 7 times 200 effects of what it is like to be violated and raped, where you have no control. And he will endure 900 times 7 what it is to be savagely murdered over and over and over and over again. His recompense is going to be extreme before he is sent to Sheol. Sheol is not a place of punishment. It's a place of incarceration and separation. And so those people like this asshole are going to have to be held accountable. Those 50 little girls need to see that he is held accountable. Those 200 women need to see he's held accountable. Those people who begged for their lives and he went ahead and killed them anyway need to do that. But there's only one thing on earth that is capable of motivating someone to be this savage. And as bad as Marxism is, and it is grossly immoral and vicious, there's only one thing that is capable of perverting a human to the point that he would murder 900 people begging for their lives, rape 50 little girls and 200 women. Islam. That's why Islam cannot be tolerated any place where people expect to live decent lives. It's incompatible. And by the way, he did not corrupt his religion. His religion corrupted him. Okay, so this is an affirmation of what happened. Now, there is 2 issues with Libya. One is that Libya was asked to cease and desist in building a nuclear bomb. And Libya was the country that says, okay, we won't build one. Okay, then we'll live in peace with the rest of the world. And of course, they were attacked because they were defenseless, which tells the rest of the world, if you want to have some defense against America in the West, you need to have a nuclear bomb. So it was counterproductive. But also, Libya, and this is more important, Libya had large gold reserves and said, we're going to have a currency that's gold backed to free Africa from being enslaved and taxed by, manipulated by America and the reserve currency. And for that, America killed him. That's why America is bombing in Nigeria today. It is why America views China as an enemy. It's why America is at war with Russia. It's why America is at war with Iran. It's a dying animal, the dying, vicious, rabbi-infected, not rabbi, but rabid animal. It's got rabies. And it's lashing out. But when America did this kind of thing and turned Libya from a prosperous nation into an Islamic hellhole, making a bad situation worse, it was just like what it had done in Syria and what it did in Afghanistan, what it did in Iraq, what it did in the Sudan, what it did in Somalia, over and over and over again. It's a broken record. It's revolting what America has done. So this person here, he's saying, and Dr. Malouf is a decent guy. I think he's a Christian, unfortunately, but otherwise he's got decent posts. And he says, in Yemen, 90% of men and half the women chew on kalot. And kalot is a root of a plant that is a drug. It's like taking amphetamines. And he said, so, they can't have alcohol, but they're all drug addicts. Make it make sense. And, the fact of the matter is when it comes to religion, none of it makes sense. But, Judaism was largely written, the Talmud, by those who were on Urkot, which was a drug found in the Babylon area. And it was a rusty infection on wheat, I think is where they got it. The assassins of the Ottoman Empire were the first to be loaded up with lots of hashish, deadening their judgment. It's pretty common that use of hallucinogens in religion. There was a lot of magic mushroom use with early Christians. Very prevalent. Religion is a drug. It's an opiate for the mind.
Absolutely. That's the only correlation I could possibly make is that the more clear-headed you are, the more you're able to be Kodesh and set apart and to come out of those things.
That's correct.
Because if you're
any sort of isn't will prevent you from being aware. I mean, a lot of people have battled with alcohol. I read an article. There was a Pitt, the actor, was saying that he is no longer refraining from alcohol. He admitted that he was a professional drinker and could drink a Russian under the table with their own vodka, and said he could drink better than anybody. But he was an angry drunk and he beat his kids, he beat his wife, and he beat himself out of a career ultimately because of alcohol. But now he says, "Oh, but I'm professional about it, and I'm now drinking wine, and I'll have a glass. Well, I'll have a lot of glasses of wine, but I'm being professional about it." So there's a story about a guy that writes on whether or not the number one question in alcoholism is whether a person who has been an alcoholic can ever drink again. And he said, there's a lot of different views on this. He said, but when you read what Brad Pitt is saying about himself, the answer for him is absolutely no. And for years, the answer has been from the specialists in the field, absolutely no, that if somebody whose life was controlled by alcohol decides that they can drink responsibly again, the answer is no, they can't. And it will turn out very badly for them. And he says it's going to turn out badly for Brad Pitt again. When you recognize that there is something that has harmed your ability to think, to be a decent person, to make quality decisions, make your life meaningful, you just can't indulge in it again. You've got to say, no, that was a bad thing. It really hurt me. And I'm not going to play with that anymore because it's bad for me. And it's bad for the people around me.
Killed my dad.
And
Richard said
he switched to wine thinking that was better.
Yeah. So
cost him his life.
And switching to wine didn't do him any good.
Yeah, it's the simple matter of if you ever got to the point that you made the decision, I need to stop drinking because some bad thing happened to you, right? Your bottom, whatever it is. One time, one bad thing happened to you that made you say, I shouldn't drink. Okay, then why would you ever pick it up again? Because all your evidence and reason shows that it doesn't matter. At some point, it might not be the next time, might not be but it's absolutely possible for bad things to happen to you. You make a bad decision because of it. So it's Russian roulette in my mind.
Yeah, there are times. I mean, because I've never abused alcohol. It's never abused me. But I've been drunk twice in my life. I'm 71 years old. I've had two occasions where I got drunk in 71 years. I'll go out and we have a little lunch spot and they make a very nice margarita while we're having sushi. And, it's kind of a nice thing over hour and a half just to unwind on the beach and do this. But when I have my my margarita, I say, very, very light on the tequila. I like the flavor. I don't like the effect. And there are probably in the 8-9 years I have been here that I've had 2. And if I have the second, I'll say leave out the tequila in the second one.
Right. Yeah.
Because again, I like the flavor of them. That sweet and sour, I think, is a nice taste, particularly highlighted by the salt. But I don't like the effect. I really dislike the effect because I know that I'm being slowed in my ability to think. And everything just slows down. And I'm not I've been drunk twice in 71 years. So it's not much I can say in terms of how it affects me other than it puts me to sleep. And I don't like the feeling. So I realize what
that's
alcohol
exactly
does.
what it is. I mean, there's a very well-known speaker on alcoholism, and he takes you through the side by side what drinking does to the brain and to the body. Okay, 1 shot of alcohol, 2, 3, 4, and then what a team of anesthetists do to the body. They anesthetize you. And he said, and drunks think they're smart enough that they're going to do this by themselves, and good things are going to happen. There's because it shuts down the same parts of your brain, the same thing that
I want to fall asleep. If I have 2 glass. In fact, I'm really a lightweight because of the fact that I had malaria and and hepatitis because of all of my early travels. So my liver does not process alcohol effectively, and so I have a natural aversion to it because my body won't process it. But I do know that if I have 2 glasses of wine, that I'm going to be asleep in 30 minutes. And that's it for me. I'm not going to be a conversationalist with you at the party anymore. That party is over for me. I'm going to be asleep.
I think the problem is that I will not be asleep.
Yes, you would not be asleep, and you would be able to have the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th, and then it'd make you a mess. Yeah, at least
it goes very badly. Yes, and believe me, I am 100% not against. I'm not against any drug. I say, man, wear what you dig. If you want to chew tree bark, and I don't care. Any drug.
I don't care.
You want to make things in your apartment. Drugs, alcohol. Do that.
Don't do it, but you can't. You should be free to do it, but you shouldn't do it.
You should. Yes, you should be free to do that. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yes. Even though you shouldn't do it.
You shouldn't do it. I'm going to tell you that's a very bad idea, and this is why. Okay.
Yeah, this is why.
But
you should be free to be. You should be free to be stupid. That's what religion
absolutely.
is. I should tell everybody, don't be religious, but you should be free to be stupid. Joining the military is a stupid thing to do. You should be free to do it. You should not do it.
Absolutely. It's the same. Yeah.
It deadens your ability to think, to make good judgments. And at this point, most of humanity has no ability to think. And if you deaden what's already, it doesn't exist. This is a bad combination. And of course, for a certain number of people, they become a mean drunk, and that's harmful to other people. And other people, when they become drunk, they've lost their sense of judgment. So they'll get in a car and they can't make good decisions and quick decisions. So they'll go kill other people. And, that's the place where you'd say, yeah, well, your freedom to make that decision interfered with the freedom of somebody else to live. 100%. So I'm going to choose their freedom over your freedom. You're done. You have no more freedom.
Yeah. It's the consequence. Absolutely.
So Russia has responded to some of the provocation it's getting now from Europe. And the fact that the UK is bragging about having made the long-range drones that are now doing the damage inside of Russia. They did 1.5 billion, taking out another retail distribution center in Russia just 2 days ago. And so Russia is saying, we just want to make you aware, these will be the targets of our missiles. And I'm not going to tell you whether or not those missiles will be nuclear armed or not. But I will tell you that these will be the targets. And so they go and they show a map and say, these are the targets. And 3 of these missiles would be enough to end the UK. So let me show you, the geography of response. Okay, well, there's Germany, there's France. All right, well, we're in trouble here, aren't we? Yep.
Paris,
Poland,
Prague,
Prague. Goodbye. Oh, goodbye, UK. See you later. Oh, you're going to threaten Russia, going to attack Russia. Why should we not respond? Manchester, Birmingham, London, all of the naval bases.
Birmingham, yeah, that's
with the nuclear missiles, 3 of them, and that would be it for Britain. You want to continue to play this game? Your civilization will be gone.
3 missiles.
We're not threatening your civilization. You threatened ours. And you've continued to arm those who were bombing us and killing us. So I'm telling you, this is just put you on record right now. This is the consequence. You want to continue to play that game. This will be our only response. It's the reason why I said that the whole Ukrainian war, I go back almost 20 years on this now. And for 20 years, I have said that this proxy war using Ukraine is stupid because you cannot win. Well, at first, it's just immoral to go and use a proxy to go kill other people because you want to steal their resources. That's an immoral idea. But the idea itself, even if you pull morality out of it, is stupid because there is no way to win. You can lose because, well, Russia is a lot more powerful than Ukraine is. So you can't supply enough munitions to your proxy to have them beat the Russians as proof of what the Russians did in World War II in defeating the Germans. But beyond that, if you were to prevail militarily, let's say that a miracle happens and you were to prevail, and so that Ukrainians lose a few million men, and but they ultimately take down Russia so you can steal their resources. What is Russia going to do? Has Russia ever just rolled over and played dead?
It just shows you what they're going to do. They don't bluff.
They're told you that's what this video. This is what they're going to do. So if you were to prevail, the West gets nuked. So how was that a win? I mean, there literally was no way to win in this war that America started by using Ukrainians as cannon fodder.
Yeah, the term for it's suicidal. It's suicidal. It's
you lose, you lose, you win, you lose. It's kind of like the Iran war right now. There is no way to win. In the case of the Russian war, you can walk away from that. Iran, you can't. So there is a difference there.
Yeah, let Russia denazify Ukraine and they move on,
And moving on. Yeah. So not only do we have, and I don't know if we'll get to it in this program today, we've got another 20 minutes to go. We probably won't get to the ship that sails by, the U.S. destroyer that's now in the Persian Gulf. And if it wasn't for rust, I don't think the thing would be floating.
Oh, the rust bucket, yeah. I
think it's only rust
that was
that's
from
holding
this
the
weekend,
ship,
but yeah.
only holding the ship together. There was news that was finally came to surface with that there was a U.S. destroyer in the South China Sea that has now been deployed to the Persian Gulf that lost all power for generators went down. So it lost all power for 4 days. It actually lost it for 12 days, but the remaining 8 was in port, and they could not restore power. That somehow a U.S. warship has a singular dependence on a generator. I mean, I wouldn't even take my yacht out unless both generators, each generator could power the whole vessel. But I would not take it out unless both generators had been serviced and were at peak operating performance, because the idea of losing one made the vessel dangerous. And so I would never, ever do that. And here they have one, and it went out. They had no toilets, no showers, no ability to cook food, no navigation, no protection systems. They were just a cork. Imagine
dead in the water. Just wow. Yeah. It's a shame there weren't some Somali pirates nearby. Just saying.
Well, no, they were in the South China Sea when that happened.
Right, but
And the temperature outside was 98 degrees, and they had no air conditioning either.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And thanks to Roger, I'll never go swimming around a big boat again in the ocean.
Yeah, that's true. One of the things that my car was only 80 feet. These things are monstrous. But when we would take Cara, any place to another island or something, you always looked underneath the boat. And we swam around the boat all the time because the dolphins loved to swim around Cara. So you'd jump in the water and you'd find turtles and dolphins to swim among, which was lovely. But always barracuda, like you cannot believe, would gather underneath the shadow of Cara because the bait fish would come up for protection, and the barracuda would be right there. And you look, when you're in the water and you look at a barracuda, it's just not pleasant. I mean, it's got serious teeth on those suckers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Israel is its own worst enemy. Ben-Gvir, I think we should carry out targeted assassinations in Gaza, taking down 30 to 40 a night, every night. Not just those who pose an imminent threat. No. There are people there who are not worthy of life. They shouldn't live. They're not even people. Now, I'm the foremost expert on Islam. And I know that Islam cannot be resolved. And I know that it's a death cult. And I know what it does to women and what it does to children and what it does to Jews. And yet I would still say, use your words, not your bullets, not your bombs. Use your words. That's the best way to affect Islam. And I've always taken that approach. What he wants to do is just absolutely reprehensible. Looks like he even has a noose there on his lapel. But what a slime. I mean,
he uses the word assassination. Assassination. Yeah. It's a crime in any other place. It's a crime. I mean, killing them.
And he's got his his kippah on the back of his head, so he's identifying himself with Judaism. He's part of the Israeli
live. They're not
government.
Even people. Was he quoting? Yeah. Was he quoting Hitler there? I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's. I don't think even Hitler was that bad. But you wonder why Israel's the most hated nation on earth. Why anti-Semitism is through the roof. Why all of the talking influencers on the social media channels are all condemning Israel as being the most vile nation in the world. He's adding the flames to that, and Netanyahu continues to have him be part of the government. He's in charge of the domestic police and is essential to that government, because if he were to leave the coalition, the government would fall. And Netanyahu would rather continue to promote people that are suicidal for Israel, including the rabbis who are parasites eating Israel alive. He would prefer to be aligned with them for his own political survival than he would deal with the fact that this man is caustic to the survival of the Jewish state, as are the rabbis. They're parasitic.
And a large percentage of the population back these guys. And when you criticize them, you're anti-Semitic.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing that people, will support them. Yeah, he's actually gained in popularity.
Yeah.
He's grown in popularity in Israel.
It's almost like their version of MAGA, the ultra-conservative, and he's not conservative.
Well, in Israel, there's really no such thing as a conservative. Their right wing would be left wing in most other places, but the nationalists and the religious there in Israel are very, very destructive to that country. But so are the Marxists in Tel Aviv. But Israel is a house that is causing the anti-Semitism that is killing them. And a lot of this is a result of Israel being played into the destruction of Gaza. 10/7 was horrific, but it was horrific because the Muslims were trying to encourage Israel to do what it did, because they knew that when Israel destroyed Gaza, that they would be able to condemn Israel in the world and isolate Israel in the world and ultimately destroy Israel because it's isolated and hated in the world. You know, you had guys like Scott Ritter saying, annihilate Israel. And the reason these guys go to that kind of position is because of the images of what's being done in Gaza, not tying Gaza to 10/7, but realizing that now, as we do, that Israel was baited into doing this because they knew what effect it would have on Israel in the world, and it made Israel stunningly vulnerable. Israel checkmated itself. It played itself right into checkmate. That's why I'm so opposed to the Netanyahu government. Because a lot of the pictures that were comments that I made, that the pictures didn't convey with the repost and quote, and I don't know why that is the case. There was some. They may have been
removed after because we're 6 hours.
It was instant. I checked it instantly because the X account was not working properly this morning, so I did check it instantly, and they didn't even convey instantly. So who knows what the problem was? Anyway, this just happens to be a discussion that Putin was having on a subject, and I've heard this interview before, where Putin said that it didn't matter who was president of the United States. He says, for example, he said Obama came in with some fresh ideas, and he had a number of things, like he said, I want to close Guantanamo Bay. And he says, I think he probably did want to close it. And he says, but it didn't get closed, did it? He says, because it's always the same with these guys. They come in and they are elected based upon one set of promises. And then the guys, he says, with the fancy suits, says they're not wearing a maroon tie like me. They're little thin black ties. And they come in and they say, this is the way it's going to be. And you're either going to go along with this or you're going to be dead. So you may want to listen up. But we call the shots. You don't. He says it was always that way. He says every time I met with an American president, they would say things that would say that, you know, this person is sincere and you can negotiate with this person. And then you go back home and you would hear the same echo of that same group of people that was the military industrial complex in America, creating a mockery of democracy and elections. And they were in control, and you knew nothing was going to happen. He said, so I'm still optimistic, you know, that maybe someday we'll actually make a deal that'll be meaningful with the United States. But he says it's not looking good.
No. Yeah.
I think every time you get a new president, the men in black show up and show you 5 different angles of the Zapruder film that no one's ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah. We had them. Okay. Yeah. We did this to JFK. We'll do it to you.
Yep.
Yeah. You'll play along. Congratulations. You're in the White House. You're going to make a fortune out of this. It's a nice lifestyle. But you'll play along or you'll be dead. You'll have your wife be picking your brains off the back of the limousine.
And your kids.
So here is Lisa. Yeah. And it's that piece where, you know, and by the way, you never know. Is it for real or not for real? Is somebody going to actually put up the banners behind them? Are they going to use the food? And those are basically bags that would have had food supplies in them. Are they going to use it to hold down the mortar? Is there
that's a nice mortar, by the way.
That really has a mortar of that quality, and you're going to shoot the mortar with your whole head covered, so you can't even see where it's going. And of course, it's just being played in a loop and a loop and a loop and a loop. It's one shot, and so I don't even know how much of this is AI and how much of it's real. But this is when it says an innocent Gazan filmed launching rockets and mortars at Israel. We don't know where they're shooting. He didn't even know where they're going. And So is he a journalist or a doctor? So my comment was Lisa. And Lisa is one of the people that Lisa Rosen, that I chose to follow. So long as you focus on Hamas, Israel will continue to lose, even if it's right to exist. The enemy today and for the past 1400 years is Islam. The Islam of Allah and Muhammad, the Quran and Hadith. You are not going to prevail if you continue to lash out at the symptoms. You need to focus on the cause, Islam. And there is a way to deal with religions, and that's to use your words and expose and condemn them, as I have done in Christianity or goddamn religion or Babel. And that's what Israel and its influencers need to do to minimize the carnage that is coming. Because you continue to do this, you'll continue to be destroyed. This poor woman here.
Too little, too late, right?
Oh my God. A British woman just had enough of the Muslim migrants running their country. F off already. I'm sick of your lot. All of you, take your wives and your kids and go back to your Islamic countries. Got it? And she's just, she's screaming at them. And they don't even know what to do with her. They're just looking at her like, oh, you
Too late.
Yeah, I mean, she's going to be put in jail for saying that, of course. But good idea, but way too late. I mean, it's once the plague has infected your country, you can't wish it away. You can't say, "Oh, please, virus, would you leave and not harm any more of us?" No, you brought the virus in. Viruses do what they do.
Mm-hmm. And you hit the nail on the head with she's going to be in jail here very soon, because yes. I know some British folks speaking back and forth online video games and stuff, and they are very aware of the issue that is. I mean, there was talk today about certain areas where the cities are on fire and things that are happening there, and they know which areas they are, but they're very cautious about using the word Muslim, brown, Islam, any of that. I mean, very cautious. So they're very super aware about what's going, where they weren't 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I could say that they
telling the truth on social media, which are very few people that actually know the truth and can communicate it intelligently, because even the people that are anti-Islam haven't read goddamn religion. They haven't read any of these books. They really don't know. They just know that it's disgusting, but they don't know why. That their accounts are constantly being screened by bots, and they can be put in jail for a social media post, and it's happened a lot in the UK. Now, the UK is a trash country. I mean, the UK has, from its colonial days, even its slave trading days, it's a really terrible country, and it has been for a long time, and it's been anti-Semitic for a very long time. Their manipulation, they were the United States with a reserve currency and Navy presence that controlled the world, and they were robber barons. They really have this coming to them. So I feel no sympathy for the UK imploding and doing this to it themselves, particularly with their last shenanigan with the Balfour reneging of the Balfour Declaration and continuing to use the Hadrian's ethnic slur of Palestine. And then to elect one Muslim after another. Same thing is happening now in America. And trying to normalize the religion of rape and murder. What a travesty. But they've done it to themselves. They deserve it.
Yeah, the U.S. isn't far behind.
No, the U.S. isn't far behind. The U.S. has many more problems than.
We're just going to run out of time.
Yeah. Well, I think that the United States will be crippled before we run out of time. Whether or not the UK is completely brought down, I think it will. I think there's enough time for the UK to hit rock bottom and for the US to hit rock bottom before we run out of time. I think both will be destroyed economically and militarily and nationally.
Mhm.
It's going to be a wild 7 years.
Indeed.
Boy, I tell you what, they've got the trashiest, dumbest, most immoral women running the EU. She wants to double down, triple down, quadruple down on sanctions against Russia again. Europe and the United States started the damn war.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the ones that egging on this war. And Russia's the one who is being restrained.
Mm-hmm.
And they are continuing to want to sanction Russia, which has made Russia stronger, more self-reliant all along. And so effing insane. Their answer is, let's continue to do what has weakened us and strengthened Russia. We'll have more sanctions. It's literally insane.
Mm-hmm.
So I've come to the conclusion that insanity is the common denominator among politicians. Well, that and ignorance, irrationality, incompetence, and dishonesty.
Mm-hmm.
But who's counting?
But yeah,
who's counting? Speaking of counting, I went through, made it down into chapter 11 of Bashar that you'd sent us today, because you know I had started at 13 and worked back, so I got through 62 and 63 of Yasha'yah.
But you start at the end. You said you started at chapter 13.
Yeah, that was.
And you're reading backwards to 11.
That's what Leia taught him.
You didn't start with chapter 1. You started with chapter 13. You're reading backwards.
Yes.
Let's get to the good part.
Yes.
Well, thank God. One of the first things I did was yank the New Testament away from the Torah and prophets. So you started there.
Well, it wouldn't be here at all, right?
Okay, so you started with chapter 13, and you've read chapter 13, 12, and now 11.
Well, and a bit, 9 as well. Skipping around
9 as well. Okay, you just
because we started on it on the show the other day on the Shabbat show,
yeah.
so of course I had to read that.
All right, it's powerful material, isn't it?
It is great material. I was just going to say that. I mean, I don't know that I don't have enough fingers and toes to count the symphony of Shems. You know,
symphony. It is a symphony of Shems. It's just in that one section of 62 and 63 of Isaiah, in 17 verses, there were 24 Shems.
Yeah,
24 Shems. You know, to think that Messianic Jews are looking for an unnamed Messiah to come back, and there's not a single prophecy about an unnamed Messiah coming back, not one. And there are 24 titles that are afforded to this guy who is definitely here and making a real difference in the world with God's endorsement. And he's got 24, and that's 24 titles in just a chapter and a half.
Sure.
That's a small percentage of the total.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't go through.
Oh, I know. It's and they're not looking, don't care, you can't read. I mean, what's the? Does all religion make people just so stupid? When God's handed to you on a single silver platter, this is my guide. This is how I'm going to resolve this. You're either on board with him or you're dead, and you're looking for a mythical Jesus to come back or an unnamed Messiah to return or.
Well, we can monetize that. We can't monetize a Choter.
What is it?
We can't monetize a Choter.
You can't monetize.
Can't. And the rabbis know it. And
no,
he's a goy.
Yeah, he's a goy, and he can't. And he doesn't. He's not bribable. You can't monetize him. You can't make a buck off of him. No. So we're going to just ignore that because there's no monetary gain there. I mean, okay, well, there is a lot of monetary gain, and the universe has some value, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Life has some value. So here's a guy that's offering you eternal life and a share of the entire universe. You'd think that you'd say, well, that would be valuable.
Sure, but not for them. There's nothing in it for them to promote it. That's the whole reason. If they could just get their 10 or 12% off the transaction somehow, I mean, your name would be in lights, man.
Yeah, I think it's probably chapter 10 and chapter 11 that I'll use to create the back cover, because I have to create now 3 back covers for those books. I haven't done that yet. That's probably an hour and a half endeavor for each of those three, maybe 2 hours for each of the three, so another 5 or 6 hours for the back covers. But I was kind of trying to keep my pace of 20 pages a day on written in stone. That's the pace that I'm going through written in stone to be about 160 pages. So that's 8 days at 20 pages a day. It's radically different than it was previously. I'm through page 55 now, started, of course, on Saturday morning. So, it's
Is
making,
it still going to be baby steps? It's still going to be, I mean, as much as we can have like baby steps, introductory level material, or you just,
I don't go into, I've not mentioned multiple deployments. So I've not mentioned who the luminaries are. I've stayed away from things of that nature. I mentioned that Dode fulfilled Pesach Matzah.
Sure.
No, the whole thing is, here's the 10 statements that Yahowah etched in stone. And I've introduced them overall, and then I'm going through them one by one and saying, well, this is what this means. Now, what I haven't done, I probably still need to go back and to say, oh, by the way, this is what's not in them. There's no instruction. There's no instruction on diet. There is no instruction on against homosexuality. The things that the religious have a conniption fit over. There's no encouragement for faith. There's no statement about bowing down. There's no request for worship. And since these things don't exist in the top 10, they are not important to God.
Yeah.
So I'll have to add that to the introduction. But the translations are going beautifully, and I did. I found that my analysis of Nasha and Yasha'yah for the third statement and explaining the nature of the diacritical markings and how they work to mislead, it was really quite good. I had to do very little effort to bring that up to snuff. But no, it's going quite well. I want to finish that. I'll get these things done. Mike has said that he's working on his final fact check. He hasn't finished those. I don't know what his timeline is, but I get the back covers done, and either he doesn't have any major issues with his fact checking, or he gets it done quickly. We'll have those 3 volumes ready to go, and here in 2 weeks' time, I think we'll have written in stone, ready to go. Wow. So then we'll have to decide: do we do the mashal and start with the first mashal, and try to do maybe 3 volumes going all the way through the mashal? Do we pick up anything that we have missed thus far in Yasha'yah, Isaiah, anything we missed in Zechariah, in the latter chapters of Zechariah, anything we missed in the latter chapters of Yoel, and do a prophetic portrait going through, which would be really revealing? Or do we go back and say, all right, let's do another 10 to 15 of the Mizmor and take it down the road with the Mizmor? That's another opportunity. Another opportunity would be, we have found that Bamidbar Numbers has been exceedingly prophetic. Let's continue with Bamidbar Numbers. Leah has just come in and raised her hand.
Somebody in the chat has
I know
some
what she
comments.
wants. She wants the Song of Solomon. No. Oh, no. We changed today from the Song of Solomon.
Mashal.
Oh, she wants Mashal. Yeah. She's convinced that the Song of Solomon was actually sung by the Amma and heard by Solomon, and he wrote down what he had heard, and it was it's an ode to Boaz and Ruth. So she has wanted to do that, and I'm sure it's be interesting to do. It's just it's a lot of time, but so
side quest.
Hey, the nice thing is there's only 31 mashal. We've done 2 of them multiple times, and then we did the first 6, I think, as well. So that's 8 of them done in their entirety. So it might be possible. I don't know if we have enough time, but it would have been interesting because the mashal are all stories of a father and mother giving advice to their son, and therefore it is It is how to enjoy and live in the covenant, and what things are important if you're going to be part of God's covenant family, and how do you prepare yourself to be included in it and help others to benefit from it. So Masih would be a really good learning experience, I think.
That's why they're called word pictures.
That's why they're called word pictures, baby. Yeah, and we know a guy that wrote them, Ethan Hajraki.
That's right.
Same guy that wrote the 89th Mizmor and the final word picture, the 31st. And that guy can spin a tale. He's the same guy that wrote the Book of Ruth. So he's a pretty decent writer. He's had some experience writing. In fact, last time I checked, he had written more than all of the other prophets combined by about 5 times. So he's a talkative stick, that one.
Talkative stick, indeed. It's why you listen and learn to live.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what I told you.
I'm going to tell you again.
I can only remember all the insights and all the reasons I said those things. I think it'd be a fun thing to do. So that's part of the plan. Let's do one more here because I don't want to end on her ugly face. Oh, so what are these? So CNN analyst says that Trump could become the only U.S. president to start a war alone and lose it. And it's this, he's interviewing a congressman. The guy on the right is a congressman. Now, while it's true that Trump started the war that he cannot win, since it will never end, he can't technically lose the war that is going to continue all the way to the time that he leaves the United States, which I think will be in January of 2030. That war will still be ongoing at that point. So in that case, since the war is not going to end, the congressman will be wrong. Further, China and Russia, and he says, China and Russia have gained in strength and prosperity. I don't know why it's important for Americans to make China and Russia to be the boogeyman. They aren't the boogeyman. We're the boogeyman. So why say that Trump's bad because China and Russia become stronger? Well, it's true that Trump has tried to screw China and Russia every which way, but the strategies that has caused China and Russia to be stronger has been promoted administration after administration. That's when those guys come in the dark suits and they say, this is what we're going to do. They have destroyed America in the process. And so their relative rise has been the legacy of many POTUSes from both parties over time. But again, to be a congressman, you don't have to prevail at history or be particularly reasonable. He's just trying to disparage Trump and this idea of the first president to start a war that he himself loses. Yeah, it's not all that.
Once again, we're back to the least of his crimes.
It is the least of his crimes. Well, actually, starting this war with Iran will end up being the worst of his crimes, even though he's Satan himself and going to betray Israel and is destroying the U.S. economy. But because they're all related, this war is what will cause him to betray Israel. This war is what is destroying the U.S. economy. This war is what destroyed the U.S. military. This war is the catalyst for World War III. So this war leads to so many other bad things that it...
4 million Iranians jihading their way into Israel.
Yeah, into Israel as a result of this war. So Wookie says it's done. He's ready for the stretch and the walk. He said, so you've done your show. Thank you. We'll return. We have to decide now. Do we return to our normal Bashar, or do we continue into the new material? I think we're probably going to return to the regular Bashar today and make progress directly to that material, which you have to get really to the end of the book to get to the good stuff. The best stuff starts. What about chapter 6, 7, 8?
Yeah, it really starts in 6, 7, 8 to be able to understand what happens.
Builds from there. Builds from there. It's powerful material. It's the powerful
But
material.
don't start at the end of the book. Whatever you do, don't start at
I
the
will
end
not.
of the book.
I don't read backward. I know that Hebrew does read from right to left, and so you open the book from the opposite side. Maybe you're reading and thoughtful like you're becoming Jewish on us, and that's okay. But no, I still read and write from left to right, and I'm going to start at the beginning. All right, my friend. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Appreciate you doing this. Good day.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.